All right, go ahead.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Big Ideas on the Go. I'm excited to have as our guest, straight from London, England, Abel Aboh, who's a longtime data management expert, currently working at the Bank of England. Abel, do you want to maybe give us a little bit about your history, background, and kind of what you do now?
Yeah, hi, Dimitri. It's really nice to meet you, actually. Yeah, it's just a pleasure to do this with you today. Yeah, I'm based in the UK. I'm within the data management space. So for those people within the data management space that have not come across, we've not come part across. So please check me out on LinkedIn. Pretty much that's what I do. Just a bit of background about me. I work for the Bank of England, where I'm responsible for delivering one of the data management domains across the bank. Previously, I worked in the financial services, so things like HSBC. I worked also for EasyJet, which is a low-cost carrier as well, predominantly in Europe. Before then, actually, I did work for the defense contractor company, which is the #1 defense in the UK contractor called BAE Systems. And all these companies I've just mentioned, I've been doing data management. But a bit of my background, so I, graduated from the University of Lincoln, where I studied human resource management, and went to Strathclyde Business School in Glasgow, where I studied human resource management. So I've left human resources. I'm pretty much in data management, and people always ask me, why did you do that? And I was saying that I'm having a wonderful time. I think that's the best decision I made.
Yeah, look, I think data management right now as a category is exploding. And I think we see that every day with both the number of new companies coming into the space, the number of new people coming into the space. I think you've been in the category for a little bit of time. I would love to kind of hear from you, your thoughts about how that space has evolved and where that space is headed from an implementation standpoint.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that the space itself is really growing really rapidly, and because technology, without if there's technology and without any data, and obviously technology is not going to be a technology. So, and I think the last 18 months has pretty much show the value data can bring for organization, because when everything did shut down, and one of the key things that people have to hold on to was technology and also the data as well. So it is going really, really well, quite rapid, but also maturing as well with the data management. I see data management quickly get to the level, just like, the finance function, HR, the technology function, operation engineering. And I see that coming. And obviously technology is enabling that as well. And most CEOs are still looking at how they can leverage on the data, as an asset. So that's always going to be up and up and up. And it's going to be massively in the next couple of years. So yeah, it's quite an exciting time. It's quite an exciting time to be in data management space. It's very, very exciting. A lot is going on across in Europe, in America, in Asia, in Africa, in the Middle East as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I think data, truly has become kind of the lifeblood of most businesses. And I think we've seen this in COVID, as you and I are right now talking to each other over Zoom. And I think most people interact online, and that means that we leave behind this kind of data footprint. I would like to maybe ask you next a little bit about that interplay between kind of business and data, and in particular, kind of the role and responsibility of the CDO. You've seen both vantages, right? You kind of went to school and studied as a kind of a user of data in kind of human resources, and now you are kind of managing the whole kind of data implementation infrastructure. So tell me a little bit about your thoughts around the role, responsibility of that CDO, both that individual, but also that organization.
Yeah, I think with the individual, it's just someone, for me, someone that just have to be passionate about data. Passion about data is absolutely fundamental. I think if you're not passionate about data, then obviously you have no business being a CDO, or you have no business working in the data space, right? Because the core skills that you need to survive or to strive or to do really well within the data management space or data, it's you've got to have two core broad skills, business skills and also technical skills. So those things are quite complementary, right? And if you're not passionate about it, then pretty much you won't be able to utilize those skills effectively. And I think the just looking at data in organization, it's important to say that you know uh, most organizations are looking for ways to get some good insight using their data. Most organizations are looking for way to understand their data. Most organizations are looking for way to manage and govern and control their data. So I think the CDO comes in to help those organizations to achieve those things. So it is fair, just like you rightly say, data is the lifeblood of most organizations, and just like people, as asset, data is also a critical asset as well. So I see that, and I think from a CDO perspective or the organizational perspective, I think that's just a win-win and obviously opportunity to accelerate and deliver for the organizations. Now, it doesn't matter whatever sector or industry we're talking about. So government now are quite interested in data. So especially in the UK, they've got a data strategy already from the central government. On a daily basis, the government obviously talking about data, just talk about the COVID and all that as well. So government has seen the benefits for that. So it's not just organizations, it's government as well. And I think it's such a good thing.
Yeah, so let's talk about, so obviously data is everywhere. The importance of data management is paramount. There's this new function and organization around the CDO to better govern the data. One thing that I've noticed, and maybe you could kind of speak to it a little bit, is also this kind of shift in terms of the management from being a purely kind of human-based manual process with stewards that was fairly complex and fairly time-consuming to one that is leveraging AI and machine learning to do a lot of that grunt work, whether it's around defining the data glossary, whether it's identifying kind of quality. Maybe you could speak a little bit about how you see this slow shift in that CDO organization towards leveraging more machine learning and AI.
That's a really great question because one of the key things and one of the frustrations as a data management professional and just listening to what the business is saying is they don't have time. They don't have time to do all these things because most people are recruited not to do that. So a finance officer is recruited to do the finance. A guy that's working in engineering is recruited to do the engineering, but they have to use data to do those things. So I think that with AI and ML, three broad things that's really, really important is one is simplification. Using AI and ML to, minimize that frustration, make it a lot simpler for people to engage with the technology, right? And in sense with data management. The second piece for me is about automation, right? Being able to automate end to end. So if you take a normal ETL process, being able to do that end to end with less human intervention, I think that's absolutely fundamental, and AI and ML can support that as well. I think the final piece for me is about intelligence as well. So, you can get more intelligence applying AI and also with machine learning rather than depending on someone, right? And I think that someone obviously can do the validation, but with AI and ML, you can have more intelligence. And I think you can get better insight as well, because it has the ability to look at a massive swarm of data and come up with some insight with those data. And I think those are the three key things. I think that AI and ML will certainly do, in terms of not just reshaping data management, but can bring to support data management delivery.
So, you also touched on something in a recent post that you made around kind of the three pillars of data management, around knowing your data, so understanding what it is, having trust in it, so understanding the kind of the integrity and quality, and then the usage of it. How do you get value from the data? Maybe you could kind of elaborate on a little bit about that.
I think, over the years, I've been thinking about this quickly and really strongly because, sometimes we get into the space where we tell people about data management and we make it quite complex for them, and when I think about it, and those as a result of me being in what I call in the data trenches, I felt that there are three key things that is important. And know your data, trust your data, and use your data for any organization. So whatever we do as data management professional, we're enabling any of those aspects. We are enabling people to understand their data properly, as you say, and which is about knowing. We're enabling them to trust their data, to make better decisions as well. And finally, we are enabling them to use their data. So I think those three key things are important, and it does simplify what data management is about. And data management can be, so much, but those are the three core things, in my opinion, that's absolutely fundamental because when the business can know their data, they can trust their data, and they can use their data, then the organization can make more money, they can save more money, and they can manage and minimize their risks as well. So I think those things are really fundamental.
Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly, and I think you need kind of three pillars to hold up a kind of a table or a chair, and I think it makes total sense. Maybe as kind of one last question before we depart, where do you see the industry in a year, 3 years, 5 years? How do you think it's going to evolve?
Wow, that's a great question. It's gonna really super change quickly. Obviously AI is gonna really enable stuff, and most organizations are pretty much looking at the cloud proposition, right? People are looking to bring their data in one place, and then strive as much as possible to get some better insight. Having things like master records, golden records, looking at the master data management, exploring their metadata as well. And obviously from a financial point of view as well, for financial services, there's going to be more regulations as well, no doubt. And organizations will be able to demonstrate, how they are safeguarding their data, and we talk about GDPR, we talk about other reg that is coming out as well, not just in the UK or Europe or across the world. So, and technology will be part of in the middle of that as well. So, for data management professionals, they would like to use really good technology to enable them drive and deliver data management successfully. And I think that's the sort of change in terms of the trajectory of change I see in the next couple of years.
Yeah, look, and I think we like to believe that Big Idea or Big ID is one of the exponents of that kind of shift in terms of developing more broad-based technology to kind of enable some of the three pillars that you kind of outlined. Look, I think maybe on that note, we'll wrap up. Abel, this is great. I really appreciate you taking the time. I know it's a little bit later there in the afternoon today. So thank you again for joining us on Big Ideas on the Go. And for those of you listening in the audience, we would love for you to subscribe to Big Ideas on the Go wherever you download your podcasts. And please, if you have the time and the willingness, leave us a review. We'd appreciate it. So thank you again, everybody. Thank you, Abel. And we will talk to everybody on our next episode.